quote from the Environmental Protection Agency states, in 1 year, 67 million tons of pollution were emitted into the atmosphere within the United States. Good morning, I'm Ava Donovan, and today I will be informing you about the negative human impacts on U.S. coastal areas. This nationalized issue has led me to question to what extent have humans contributed to the pollution and destruction of U.S. coastal areas within the United States. From further research, it has been evident that humans are one of the biggest factors contributing to the rise in pollution and destruction throughout coastal areas in the U.S. But why exactly is this such a big issue? Research done by the World Bank Organization states that pollution is the largest environmental cause of disease and premature death. That being said, over 9 million disease and premature deaths occur every year in the United States alone. These statistics prove how tremendous this issue is, and it can no longer be ignored. A solution to this could be government attempts towards solving this issue. But due to the increase of advancements within the last 50 years, there are higher rates of pollution than ever before. And the government has attempted to reduce this issue by promoting electric cars and enforcing recycling for big companies. However, these efforts fail to meet the expectation to be enough. Environmental resilience. According to the College Board stimuli, The Dark Side of Resilience, resilience is the process of adapting to stressful circumstances and situations. A sense of resilience when dealing with the environment can be defined as the capacity of an ecosystem to respond to a disturbance by resisting damage and recovering quickly without shifting to an alternative state or losing function of services. Although the environment has been able to change and adapt to human accommodations made, if damage from human impact keeps occurring, there may be no recovery. One of the main focuses when dealing with human impact is overpopulation of coastal areas. In the graph by the U.S. Census Bureau, it depicts the population of areas across the United States in the year 2011. Evidently, in the graph, we see that areas with coastlines have a large contrast with numbers in the millions, while those central states have numbers only ranging from 90 to 7,800. Not only are coastal areas highly populated, they are also considered a prime spot for tourism. But as tourists come and disrupt the coastal ecosystems, it causes things such as water pollution, beach and shoreline erosion, destruction of ecosystem habitats, extinction of certain species, displacement of local communities, and increased plastic waste and energy resources. In the visual, we see just how these effects are negatively impacting coastlines, such as sea level rising and mangrove clear cutting, which are huge impacts on coastal areas. With the rising population comes more plastic use. According to the World Data Organization, plastic use in the U.S. has nearly tripled since the 1980s. 80 million tons of plastic end up in waste, and 300 million tons of plastic are produced every year for human use, and 14 million tons of this plastic are ending up in our oceans every year. Plastic makes up 80% of all marine debris found, which, to put in perspective, there's almost as much plastic in the ocean as there are fish. In the graph here, we see that how much plastic production has increased in the last 30 years. Agriculture. Agriculture continues to be an important factor in the way humans have impacted coastal areas because agricultural operations can have significant effects on water quality. Pesticides and fertilizers. A quote from the United Environmental Program states, agricultural runoff, particularly from chemicals that leach from fertilizer, is a major threat, as are chemicals discharges and waste from agriculture. Nutrients used in both industries, including nitrogen and phosphorus, and persistent toxins can end up in coastal waters, leading to oxygen depletion and creating more dead zones over time. In the visual here, we see how exactly this works, because fertilizers from farmlands are going directly into U.S. waterways. In the following graph shows data from the USDA on how much U.S. farmers are paying on fertilizer compared to other chemicals, and the dramatic jump from 2000 to 2009 shows just how much fertilizer is being used and how much it is impacting the coastal waters because all the toxins are flowing directly into these coastal waters. An effect of human impacts with the industrialization of using fertilizer for agricultural needs, runoff goes directly into our waterways, causing something known as red tide. Red tide can also be referred to as nutrients that are deadly to fish. But not only does red tide kill marine life, it also comes back around full circle because toxins from red tide can cause human illness. And because of this, beaches are closing down because precaution health issued warnings. Another important factor is aquaculture. Aquaculture is a human influence for breeding, raising, and harvesting marine life. Basically, it's farming in the water. U.S. aquaculture is an environmentally responsible source for food and commercial products. Although this was once a solution to overfishing, with the solution comes many limitations. Environmental risk of marine aquaculture. Here we see in the visual that because the mass production of incubation of marine life, many diseases and parasites are being formed, as well as mass mortality rates due to the introduction of diseases. With this also comes non-native species. For example, in the graph we see Atlantic salmon eggs, overall damaging the coastal areas. With all that being said, humans play a huge role in the damage done to the United States coastal areas. So how should we go about solving this issue? The best way to go about solving this nationalized issue is government involvement. If the government provides funding towards protecting coastlines and creating safe fishing habits, as well as limiting development and creating stricter recycling laws, overall damage done to the coastal areas will be decreased. But as an individual, you can help preserve damages by only supporting eco-friendly companies, overall improving the quality of the U.S. coastlines. Some limitations to these solutions include the economic impact of government regulation, which is cost prohibitive to do business. Another limitation is that many damages caused by the destruction and pollution are irreversible, meaning that they can never be completely fixed. These are my sources. Thank you. Any questions?
Two questions for you. First up, how valid and reliable were the sources that you used, and then how do you know?
I would say my sources are pretty reliable because they're all government issued sources, such as like all the infographics are from like government organizations.
Okay. And what advice would you have for other researchers who consider this topic in the future?
The advice I would have for other researchers is probably to look into how all these claims are connected, such as like agriculture and aquaculture, and how they all come from like one, like how all the negative effects are kind of rooted back to the same thing, and that was like the main issue.